All right, so last video of the year, last lesson of the year. It's causation versus correlation. All right, nice and easy. It's going to be an easy one, so no excuses for not watching this. All right, so let's start off with some objectives. To understand the difference between causation and correlation. That's it. So you just have to understand the difference between a couple of things. Easy enough. Let's go on to some vocabulary. So correlation is a relationship or lack thereof between two variables in a data set. So we're talking about scatter plots. So like let's say I have, this is my graph, and these are my, points. Okay, so that would say that that has a positive correlation. All right, we all know what a negative correlation looks like. That would be something, kind of like this. And this would be like a negative linear correlation thing. Okay, so that's correlation. So if on a scatter plot your points are grouped closely, you can really see what the graph would look like by it. Then it's said to have a strong correlation or a positive correlation. This would be a negative correlation. Now, causation is where a change in one variable is responsible for a change in the other. Okay? So there's a difference there. Causation, meaning one thing causes the change in the other. So you got to be careful. So like I say here, be careful. Just because you have a strong correlation between variables does not necessarily mean there's causation between the variables. So let's take a look at an example like this. The following, we've got a good graph. We've got a graph of a good example of correlation. All the line, we pretty much have, a line here. That's a really bad, line of best fit, but you get the idea. So this would be an example of a strong correlation. However, would you say that it has a strong causation? That there's causation here. Is your weight directly related to your height? Well, for the most part, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's other factors, but for the most part, your height helps determine your weight, and it's a pretty big factor in it. So we would say that there's causation here as well. All right, so let's take a look at this example. If someone says there's a strong positive correlation between the number of policemen at a crime scene and the severity of the crime, so we shouldn't send too many policemen to a crime scene because the crimes will be more severe. And you were asked to write a sentence or two about the reasoning of this statement. So first off, does this make sense? An example of a good answer for this would be the strong correlation between the two variables does not imply that one variable causes the other. In other words, a lot of policemen at a crime scene may mean that the situation is very serious and that more policemen are needed. The severity of the crime depends on the perpetrator of the crime, not the number of police officers who show up. So there's a strong correlation, but the number of police officers are not causing the severity of the crime. So you can't say that there's causation. You can say there's correlation, though. So, and another good example of a graph with good correlation, but that is not causal. So here, if you look, this would be like over the years. The consumption of ice cream has increased, as have drowning deaths. Does that mean that the consumption of ice cream is causing the drowning deaths? No, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, this is an example of a question you might have on a test. Researchers have found that the number of drowning deaths and the amount of ice cream consumed in the United States are strongly correlated, and both have been increasing over the last several decades. Can you conclude that the increasing amount of ice cream consumed is causing the number of drowning deaths to increase? Simple answer, no, because you can't imply causation from correlation. Okay, so they've got to be related. Height and weight related, there is causation there. Okay, and correlation. In this case, not so much though. So anyway, let's finish the year strong. You've got a test coming up. You've got review for finals, and then that's right. Have a good one, guys.